Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Smoke Junction with the weekly comic book roundup. We've got actually kind of a large size haul this week, so let's get started. Kicking things off, we've got Immortal X-Men number 3. Where we left off, the kaiju attack that was perpetrated by Selene had been foiled, and Selene had been killed by Hope, and all on further, but Destiny mysteriously collapsed. So this issue is focusing on Destiny, explaining that when she was 13, the future opened up to her, seeing visions as a child of the Brotherhood, of the Shadow King, of the X-Men, and various other things. She wrote it all down. As after her powers manifested, she lost her sight. But Emma does a cursory scan of Destiny's mind to basically explain that she's elsewhere, many elsewheres. The visions are overwhelming. It causes Emma to feel a little tipsy, even. But a council meeting is being called, and Mystique does not want. Feels that she should be there to, if need be, stand against Xavier. Over the course of Destiny's narration, we recount the first time she met Raven. With her saying that meeting Raven was a nexus point. And she knew she had to she knew that her death was coming, and she told Raven, about the whole, there will come an island, not the first, but the last. And if they will not bring me back, if they will not return me to you, burn it to the ground. But the council meeting, some interesting bits of information come up. With Hope explaining to, mentioning Xavier gave her a Cerebro helmet, and he says that he did no such thing. Sinister chimes in, explaining that he had a strange visitor. Magneto came to him, asking for all the Destiny DNA. Apparently, Sinister was entirely convinced it was him. But Mystique explains to the council that burning the island to the ground was her other option. So lying to a few of them to bring back Destiny was better than that. But Destiny is having further visions, including some visions of events that are definitively to come, such as the upcoming Avengers, X-Men Eternals, Judgment Day crossover. And we get a timeline of sorts. So they're branching off from now. We have the Spark Inquisition and Limbic Infernality, Judgment Day, Nimrod Extinction Event, New Krakoa, the Broken Sword, the Empire of the Red Diamond, and the Storm System. Then we have Krakoa Dissolution, Nimrod Extinction Event, Cassandra Supernova, Reign of A, Legion 12, Canticle for Talia, Alf the Sixth, Dominion of Orcus, the Demarcation Event, Immolation of Judas's, the Gene Corsairs, Unity, and the Expanse. In one of these, Sinister is piloting a ship that is covered in, seems to be made, the hull of which seems to be largely made of genetic material from Sebastian Shaw. The cosmically powered version of Exodus stops him and it swallows him into it, and seemingly swallows Sinister into hell. Raven further, Mystique further explains to Xavier that, you know, him and Magneto promised that they would return Destiny to her, but they were never going to. So what did they expect her to do? Xavier kind of just says, you know, your ends justify the means, terrorist, Raven. It's a little late for you to play the romantic idealist. Though Kate points out that Xavier got some real Professor Xavier is a jerk energy. Apparently Xavier's tired of the rest of the council judging the steps that Eric, that himself, Moira, and Eric took to bring them in paradise. But Xavier is trying to get Mystique thrown off the council when Destiny reappears and simply states that a war is coming in weeks. They must fight for immortality and be ready. With Destiny further adding that if their scheme for utopia matters at all to the council, they should be thanking Mystique for bringing Destiny back. And cursing at those who kept her dead for their own petty needs. Emma asks if she would submit to being scanned to test the visions. Shaw agrees. He's sick of being manipulated. However, Destiny explains she doesn't trust any of them in her head. After everything, and you kind of after everything, you know, you can kind of see why. But she adds that mutant kind must have a future. Exodus states that it's the law of faith to put it in anyone, though he's interrupted by Destiny stating that she thought a man of mutant faith would have more trust in a literal mutant prophet. And she's correct. Apparently, after Exodus sides with Destiny, the rest of the council falls in line. But one thing that she concludes overall this is that somehow somehow Sinister has cloned Moira. But so we now get a harkening back to a much older X-Men plot point, the Destiny Diaries. The Destiny Diaries were her diaries where she wrote down all of her visions. They were major plot points in the late 90s and early 2000s, and after that it's just kind of been... They occasionally get brought up, but yeah. But she figures now is the time to write down another write out another batch. But one thing she noticed that she points out about all the future visions she saw, all of them, Mystique isn't there. To which the issue ends with Destiny saying that there is no future, not in any way that counts. I'm liking how I think I've said this the last 2 months as well. I like the fact that we're focusing on each issue is focusing on a specific member of the council. It'll be interesting to see if we're going more than 12 issues, and if so, how will that? Will we start seeing after the 12th issue actual, not just focusing on a specific character, or who knows, maybe they'll continue. Just, okay, well, issue 13, well, okay, focus on Sinister again. I mean, that would work too. But yeah, very interesting. Some of these possible futures that Destiny has seen. It will be, I think, something that would be made for a very interesting read. Would be one shots or miniseries to show what happens in those alternate futures, perhaps under the superheader of Destiny Diaries. This event, I get the feeling that the Nimrod Extinction event will be kind of a standard thing in all timelines. So, moving on to our next book, though, we've got Knights of X number 3. Where we left off, the Knights have split up, with half the team being in the Crooked Market looking for Jim Jaspers, and the other half infiltrating Sebelith. The group in the Crooked Market had come under attack by the Furies. So we begin with Roma and Saturnine talking to Shogo, basically explaining that if Shogo wishes to be a knight, well, a knight must know virtue and sacrifice. The Crooked Market, the knights are faring decent. The knights who are there are faring decently against the Furies, with Megan throwing one to the Everforge. But Rachel notes that she can't. Her side link with Betsy is severed. Also, a lot of the locals are referred to her as Ascani, which, fair point, she was. In possible future, she does become Lady Ascani, so, But, turns out the plan is not. Gambit says they need to rescue Jim Jaspers. They need to find him and save him. He's a mutant, even if he's a jerk. But the first part becomes moot when the court the court shows up with Jim Jaspers as a prisoner. The plan being a public execution. In Sebelith, the rest of the knights make their way to Death, who was actually quite happy to just, stay there. They offered to break him out, but he's like, no, I'm good. Richter, however, explains that says he has a grimoire of Apocalypse, and that he tried. He got Cypher and Bay to translate it, but there's a lot of metaphors. Just things he doesn't. There's a lot of metaphor in it, which he doesn't get the references for. Older metaphor. It's like if you're talking with a friend but you use reference points from dealings with another friend who the friend you're with has never interacted with. They'd be confused as hell. Well, same basic concept. But we learned that Siege Perilous was given to Absalom Mercator, aka Mr. M, in the early days of Krakoa, with A having taken Mercator to Otherworld, basically giving him a realm all his own. There's a write-up about Absalom. Explaining who he is. Honestly, very brief way of explaining, but yeah. Richter is feeling like if a sacrifice needs to be made to get into Mercator, well, he should be the one to make it. But Shatterstar explains to Julio that no, that wouldn't be your sacrifice. It would be I'd be the one making the sacrifice. I'm not willing. But the group links up, and Shatterstar makes one of his teleportation portals to the Crooked Market, and so all the Knights are now dealing with what's going on with. And it seems that perhaps Modra's mutant power is making others want to fight him, which is enough of a distraction until Merlin shows up. Gambit takes the fight to Merlin, charging up one of the tarot cards that he stole from the Celestial Citadel. And when Merlin tells him to die, well, Gambit points out that he's been death, as the card, and seemingly also Merlin and Gambit, explode. The card Gambit was holding, death. There's also an entry from the Grimoire on death, the Horseman death. Explaining that before they were horsemen, they were his children. And the next ones, many of them were from his children too. For a good long while, Apocalypse sought his horsemen solely from within his own line. And when he could no more stand to look upon his own get, he learned what made the difference between good horsemen and bad ones. He had to be able to love them as he had once loved his own children. Yet, as death is sometimes the hardest role to fill, for that is the son that Apocalypse will grapple with eternally. War, plague, and famine, he will only know if he seeks them out. But death may still surprise even him one night. A cold steel blade between even his ribs. Death is the son he can never trust, but he cannot be a bad man, because above all else, death must be selfless. Even death must be ready to die. And that is where the issue ends. And it seems Gambit has died in Otherworld, which, well, that might actually mean that's the end of Gambit. That, or perhaps we'll have a newly characterized version of Gambit. We shall see. It's interesting. One of the first comics I ever bought was Gambit's first appearance. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got New Mutants number 26. Where we left off, while attempting to turn Limbo over to Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen, Illyana Rasputin, Magic, was faced with a revolution led by the demon Sin. And her soul sword shattered, stranding her, Madeline, Wolfsbane, and Mirage, Danny Moonstar, in Limbo. They've been trying to get out, but for whatever reason they can't seem to be able to, don't seem to be able to leave. But there are sounds of battle, and they follow the sounds, and this is apparently a demon horde attacking a lone base. The base appears to be commanded by a much older Illyana, who has a technovirus arm and a sword that appears to be made of Warlock. She also appears to be wielding one of Cable's guns. I don't know. I imagine Cable's more than happy to be like, yeah, take your pick. But the demon horde attacking is held off, and the group is let in. There's a log from Warlock about the conversation had between Magic and Madeline. There's also a conversation held between Magic and, well, Magic, which is interrupted by one of the demons arriving, making an offer of truce. Yeah, they ain't having it. But so the horde then shows up. Meanwhile, Colossus is looking for Ileana. But the horde returns to older Ileana's base, and she makes a counteroffer. One-on-one fight between herself and their leader, winner takes all. And the leader shows up, the technovirus infected Sim. They duke it out, they both get cut. Seems like Ileana seems to take the worst blow, but something happens. The essence of Warlock disrupts the technovirus within Sim, which allows Ileana to kill him, which uninfects all of the demons who retreat. Ileana briefly makes a new sword, and the issue ends with another flashback to Ileana's childhood, facing off against a simulacrum of Kate, and vowing to do whatever it takes to save her. Interesting arc. I will admit, New Mutants is conceptually there have been some good there have been good stories, but I think the execution on some of them has been lacking, and in some ways, there have been points where it felt like it was spinning its wheels. I'm not saying it's been bad, but it hasn't exactly been my favorite. I think it hasn't exactly been my favorite of the X books. Not my least favorite, but not the one I look forward to reading. You know. But this story definitely has my interest peaked. So, moving on to our next book, we've got X-Men number 12. So where we left off, the X-Women, Wolverine, Polaris, Rogue, and Jean Grey were on Game World, though it looked like their plan had gone sideways, with Wolverine being taken over by Cordyceps Jones, and looking like Jones was about to also get his hands on Jean. Back on Earth, Cyclops and Synch were trying to figure out who Dr. Stasis was. When they caught up with Stasis, Cyclops unmasked him to reveal the face of none other than Mr. Sinister, Nathaniel Essex. Only instead of a red diamond in his forehead, he has a black club. They fight a bit. Stasis claims to be the true Nathaniel Essex. But some explosives are let off, with more to be set off. So Synch and Cyclops go to stop the bombs. The home that Stasis lives in is then destroyed, and he takes a picture off his wall and leaves. On Game World, the X-Women basically reveal that it's revealed that yeah, of course, if Jones is not winning, and borrowing some of Jean's power, Rogue is able to free Wolverine, and then Polaris imprisons Jones, and a telepathic message then to the High Rollers of Game World by Jean. Without, they're free to leave, so as long as they don't have galactic council arrest warrants. So long as they convoy every captive who wants off Game World. Those who remain have no master. Game World belongs to them now. And as long as they seek no harm to defenseless worlds, Game World can count the X-Men of Earth as their friends. Back on Earth, Synch and Cyclops have coffee with Ben Urich, and they tell him that he had started to figure things out. They can't go into the details about being resurrection, but he had started to figure them out. Synch explains that he was scared about everything, and he's the one who in fact took Urich's memories and offers to return them, though Urich refuses to. This is the first time that he's lost a story, or that he's forgotten, made to forget a story. But Jurgens, when he had a story, he had it taken from him, but he has the story again, and he has to keep his perspective on the moment. It can't be Synch's interpretation of his. But they also returned Jurich's notebook to him. And the Bugle headline is Immortal X-Men, with an opinion piece by Ben Urich, and an exclusive by Urich with the X-Men. But he explains that mankind's been after immortality forever. They pursue it with science, and they've had faith that life everlasting is a reward to be earned. Mutants have discovered their holy grail, and humanity may not drink from it. Something the haves and have-nots have a whole new arms race. If the gods are listening, may they help us all. As it continues, if mutantdom follows the example of the X-Men, then Urich thinks they're going to be alright. They were hated and feared, then loved and adored. After this, who knows? Urich is sure that the X-Men keep fighting for the people, regardless of their genes. They don't stop to ask what species someone is when pulling you out of a fire. We see a bit of an attack in Madrid that foiled by the full team of the X-Men, with the team telepathically linked, and the question kind of becoming, with the Hellfire Gala coming up, who's staying on the team. with Gene adding that they don't have to change out every roster spot. Polaris opts to stay. Rogue would love to stay on the team forever, but her destiny lies elsewhere. And Irene, Destiny herself has been a bit of a fit with her, saying that only she can prevent mutants walking through a gate and never returning or something, or some nonsense. But so she's gonna have to, she'll be leaving the team. Wolverine will also be. Wolverine says that she'll make her decision before the vote is called. But if she does leave, all they have to do is say the magic words and she'll be back. The magic words being, to me, my X-Men. Sync is all in favor of staying. Sunfire has duties has something to take care of on Araka, however, so. But that is where the issue ends. This has been a good year of the book. I think they're not. I don't think the plan is to restart with a new number 1. So I think we'll be getting. It'll just be continuing just with a new roster. As I recall, the Hellfire Gala is going to, rather than being the entire, all the books from all the X books for an entire month, it's going to be a one shot, and there will likely be kind of a ripple effect. It's going to be hard to beat last year's gala, after all. Moving on to our last book of the moment, we've got Star Wars Crimson Reign number 5, wrapping up the Crimson Reign miniseries. Lady Kira of Crimson Dawn has been making moves against the Empire through layers of intermediaries with a particular goal in mind. The issue begins on Coruscant at the Imperial Palace. The Emperor has called Vader to him, explaining they have an enemy. A member of the ISB, a division director at the Imperial Security Bureau, whose division is tasked with retrieving intelligence from the galaxy's various criminal operations, has been obviously keeping an eye on the Syndicate War. So and it seems that there's a rumor that whoever wins the Syndicate War will basically have Palpatine's favor, since the Hutts fell out of favor. And Crimson Dawn is the one who gave them that idea. On the Vermilion, Kira, Kadila, the Archivist, and Margot are all meeting to discuss things. It turns out that even in the ISB's organized crime division, well, Kira has people who have informed her that they're putting two and two together. They're putting the pieces together. So the timeline is kicked up a notch. Everyone is sent on their missions, with Margot sent on one, the Archivist sent on another with the Knights of Ren. Kira wishes her to talk with Kadila about her and about the two of them. Vader explains a few things to the Emperor about Lady Kira, explaining that she's trained in Teras Kasi. And adding that she had training beyond just Teras Kasi, tactics and techniques echoing those she had seen, that Vader had seen in another, Palpatine. Palpatine initially sees this as an accusation, though Vader says, no, it's just an observation. The Emperor says he didn't train Kira, but perhaps maybe he trained the one who trained her. He adds that if Vader had found Kira in a royal court, he would have assumed it was Darth Tyrannus, Count Dooku, who had trained her. But she wallows in the mud of the criminal syndicates, so the more likely answer is Maul, which is the case. The Knights of Ren and the Archivist have the Screaming Key, which the Knights stole from Castle Vader, and mean to put it to use. They requires Ren to use the darts of the Force on it, which seemingly animates a group of statues. Or the petrified remains of creatures. But it seems as though Lady Kira is means to. It does seem as though Lady Kira is trying to make Cordelia become her successor. Whereas Kira came from nothing, Cordelia is the heir to two syndicates. Neither of them are huge syndicates, but still, two syndicates. And, but something has occurred, and so an alert has gone out across the Imperial fleet to a high priority target designation, and so all of that high priority target designation being the Vermilion. The Knights of Ren deal with the creatures that they're faced with, and get the Archivist to where she needs to go, uses the key, and pulls out an ancient artifact. Well, she lets Kira know that it's still there, where it was supposed to be. Kira destroys her comm link for the Archivist, and explains that to those gathered that Palpatine knows they're hunting him, and now he's hunting them. That day came sooner than Kira had hoped, but it was always inevitable. And because it was inevitable, she planned for it. And she has one order to give to her to those who are assembled: chaos. Chaos for the Empire. Anywhere they can create it. Destruction, disruption, poison down the gullet of Palpatine's machine. And while the Empire staggers, trying to set things right, Crimson Dawn will prepare their masterstroke, and all of it at last will end, as they are the hidden Empire. And that is where the series ends. Now, this is the second in a three-part trilogy. Started with War of the Bounty Hunters. The follow-up will be the Hidden Empire, which starts in October, so 4 months. But that will do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.